And what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Beta Memoirs, where we like to talk about everything the stock markets. And the stock market indeed has been quite interesting as of late. We've seen a lot of standstill. We've been waiting for a pullback. Yesterday, we got some comments from Mr. Powell, which kind of market had really a tiff. Powell has not changed his state. That we have Jackson Hole next week, which people are going to look forward to. But today we had the FOMC minutes. Now, there's something after yesterday and seeing a lot of the chop during the midday, even also considering the fact that it is August and volume is low. This is why I also iterate that we should stay. If you're playing anything, to stay with things with strength. Don't try to wander off too far. Even mid caps and everything, they've been running lately. But towards the end of the day, mid caps took one heck of a hit. Banks took a hit. Value took a hit. Tech held pretty well for the most part. Some tech sold off pretty hard. But the FOMC minutes came out. There was a lot in those minutes, really. Not a lot, but per se, there's still been a lot of, it's just reiterating a lot of the different things that's already been talked about through Powell. I don't know why this seems like it's all new stuff. Powell has been kind of talking about all this stuff throughout the past couple months. I think Powell has been pretty good about everything so far. But they're talking about tapering, yes, but this does not mean raising rates. And they keep reiterating this. Tapering does not involve raising rates. That isn't going to be till sometime next year. Fed is divided. There's three different camps. People think that we should taper the end of this year. People think we should taper early next year. People think we should are kind of indefinite on when to taper. Being said, asset classes, mortgage-backed securities, or something that they are going to consider first starting to stop purchasing. And that being said, that would be the first signs of tapering. There will be no rate raises. That's what they keep saying. It's what they keep reiterating. Next week, again, Jackson Hole. If something changes there, maybe the markets will sell. You also have a lot of stuff with the Taliban going on. Again, I don't think that has that much of an impact on the current market unless it gets really out of hand. If the U.S. decides to get back in, I think that will be the case in which things will start possibly getting worse. Or again, if any kind of supply chains or interrupted, or for whatever the case is, that is when it's going to start affecting the market. But ultimately, right now, we just really needed a reason to sell, right? All this information has already been out there. Nothing has changed. This is quite the pullback. That last hourly candle on SPY was quite big. Apple did take a huge. Apple dumped pretty hard. Google dumped pretty hard. A lot of those have a lot of big weights. Amazon dumped pretty hard. Tesla stood tall. It just pulled back a little bit. Tesla's actually been pretty strong. BA, I know, was tanking quite a bit today. Looks like it tanked the last hour. So a lot of the stuff that had weight today tanked on the FOMC minutes. Again, tapering, people are, I'm assuming, thinking that there's going to be rate raises, that they're just kind of, the Fed is kind of masking the rate hikes, even though they've, again, reiterated that it's going to be a slowdown of the asset purchasing. But we'll have to see how that works out. Ultimately, again, I think final word will be said next month or at Jackson Hole next week. And then you also have the current status of Mr. Powell next month, if he's returning or not. That will also be a big statement in the market. If he is not, I could see us possibly selling more off because of that, again, because of uncertainty. That would introduce some uncertainty at that point. But everything aside from here how much are we really going to pull back? Again, I'm not really giving a watch lists. We want to see what the market's doing before we start trying to set everything up. And then I'm not one of those people that are going to give you a watch list of stuff to watch. Yes, I'll give you levels and stuff. I think you should remain with FANGs right now because of the fact if anything bounces back, they're going to be the first ones to bounce back. You want to be focusing on those, so focusing on key levels on those for this bounce back. How much of a dip are we really going to get? Everybody's been talking about a major correction. We had about a 7.5 back in March. I would suspect something roughly maybe 5, maybe 7%, if that. Again, this time, if this is when we're really going to sell, we don't really know. The market has just been extremely strong. Every dip that's essentially sold off has been bought up. There is no real reason. Again, the only thing I could see is something changing next week at Jackson Hole, or possibly Mr. Powell leaving. From that point, then it could be a concern. Again, just introducing the idea of uncertainty, which is something the market doesn't like. So we're going to have to see. So SPY, big tank, end of day, bear flag. I think we might actually pull up with some retesting tomorrow and tank again tomorrow, if not gap down overnight. If we do another gap down, I would probably go for any big tech that is gap down with it for a quick rebound. So I'm saying stay with strength. Stay with the big companies that pull their weights, your Apples, your Teslas, Facebooks, Googles, Amazon. I'd stay away from Amazon. Amazon has kind of really been fluttering. It hasn't really been the same since earnings, but just wait and see what happens with overnight session. Again, why I don't like giving watch lists when big events like this are occurring in the market. You need to figure out what's going on in the market before you start taking positions, but stay with the FANGs right now, see what is going on with the market. If we sell off, if we get another leg down overnight, look for a good bounce tomorrow. If not, then we might actually pull back overnight and then possibly look for some more selling into tomorrow. So we just have to see how that works. But Tesla, like I said, good support. I ultimately would love Tesla around 620. If we can get another drop back down, which on the daily, the 200 sitting around that 620. If we get a pullback for Tesla for there, I want to enter there. For Facebook, the 50 is sitting around that 349 would be a good mark for Facebook. Ultimately, the 200 is way down here. Will we see 310? Unless Powell leaves, unless something else happens, I don't see that possibly happening. I see us maybe dropping at maybe 330 is probably the lowest we'll get with Facebook, but it's a level I'm definitely watching. Apple, the 50 is sitting at the 142 mark. Expect entry there for a good bounce. Will it go lower? It definitely depends on if there's bigger catalysts, then yes. Again, market digestion will probably get another leg down. We have to see. Google got a lot of different supports here. Let's see what we got here on the daily. So there are 200 supports at the 2205. Google doesn't drop that far that fast unless there's something major going on. But the biggest support I'll be looking at is at 2588. And get a bounce off of that. I don't think this pullback, whatever it is, isn't going to be much. Square is another one I want to keep an eye on. If we do start pulling down it, this Square does sell off nicely, which is good because you can get at some good supports. But on the daily here, I do like this 225. So if Square does get down to that 225 and start basing there, I'll definitely want to position Square. Roblox was a beast today. See if this pulls back down to 75. I don't know if it's possible. They had good numbers on earnings, so it had 2 good days to run. It might have another good day to run. We'll have to definitely check them out. SC had another monster day. Some levels on that. It's already bounced once off of this, so I'm looking for, to be honest, I'm looking more for 200 on this one, around that 240 mark. for SE if it does pull back. Again, these are dream numbers, right? You have to remember these are dream numbers. I would really like it to come down to this number. If it does, I am buying. I am definitely buying. That is what you got to look for. That's what I like, is that 200. If stuff starts hitting the 200 on the daily and consolidating around them, those are the positions that you really want to look at, especially if they are big, well-known tech companies. You can't go wrong with them. It does on value. Yes, it does work, but you don't get as big bumps and in the recoveries and a quick. It's easier to just go with growth. Growth has a lot more strength and value, or anything else that's out there. So I got that. Let's see if there's any others I am watching. Again, Amazon I don't want to look at. I didn't do Shop. Shop, again, I would really love around that 1251 mark. Shop does sell quite a bit, so it can sell very quick, very fast. So that's something I want to see, is if we can get this back down to 1266. Will we go back down to 1,000? I highly doubt it unless some big news comes out. We'll definitely have to see on that one. UPST. This one's been a beast. The numbers, it really crushed earnings, and they raised guidance a lot on this. So I want to see first bounce is at 158. The 50, you're going to get a little bounce off that, but it's just going to retest 20, and then it's going to come back down. Dream number is probably around that 105 mark. So look for that. But aside from that, I don't think there's really Microsoft. It's not something I really look at too much. Airbnb might be one I look at on the daily. It's really been underneath. It's really been struggling. Looking for 131 for Airbnb. I mean, the CEO for Airbnb really isn't helping the case. So that's one thing that I think has really kind of held down Airbnb. He's come out and made some comments back here in April, I believe is when he was making comments, and we sold off, and then we just never recovered after he was making comments that they were going to miss. I don't recall exactly everything that he said, but they definitely weren't positive for the company. So that was not a good sign. BYND. Again, if this thing comes around 100, starts doing consolidation, is something I'm looking at. I love BYND around there. Their PR team does a fantastic job promoting their products for Beyond Meat. So that's something I want to watch. PLTR, Planters is something, had a monster rip today. Again, looking back down, see how low we can get this thing again. It was down at 60 at one point, but I missed it at that point, and it popped back up to 28 and then back down. So we'll see if we can get back down to 24. PLTR, that's also one I want to keep on watch. I think that's pretty much it. I don't want to give out too many. I want to watch key levels. Again, on all these, I'm watching these FANGs. Mark your 20 EMA, your 50 EMA, and your 200 EMA on the daily. And those are the levels you want to be loading. Those are the levels you want to be protecting. Those are the levels you want tight stops on. Trust your lines when it hits those parts. Again, it's not financial advice. When it hits those daily supports, get a good bounce. Follow that bounce with a stop, and or limit your risk within whatever option calls you do take at that point. But just be mindful of that. Manage your risk. Again, not financial advice, but those are good key levels to be watching. Let me see. I think that's pretty much it. I really want to see how the market is going to digest everything and get going from this point. So again, no real watch list. Just watch FANG. Mark your spots. Be mindful. Again, there's going to be a lot of volatility going into next week. I think now that we got full digestion of everything, I think we'll see a lot more movement for the remainder of the week. We might see some more instability, more volatility next week with Jackson Hole, so be prepared. So until next time, if you made it this far, remember to hit the like button. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.